very warm welcome to this afternoon's episode of Live at the Watering Hole, where we are starting off with some warthog fun. Just look at these two having a good scratch after wallowing on a very, very hot day. I am Jaapie Potgieter and I'm going to be your host this afternoon. It's very, very good to be back to see and catch up what's happening around the watering holes. Now, most of our wilderness areas in South Africa has had their recent rains, so I'm sure there's a whole lot of exciting changes happening all over. What a prime example of a very functional, very well liked rock. Looks like a female warthog and maybe an older offspring. I just want to remind our viewers to send some questions through to wildearth.tv/questions or to scan the QR code at the bottom of the screen. And of course, they can also join in on the YouTube channel or X, formerly known as Twitter, and you can use the hashtag WildEarth. Yeah, you're welcome to send through questions or comments. This is a live and interactive show, and I am really hoping to hear from you. I'm also hoping that I can at least answer your questions to some extent. I can see it looks very, very hot here at Founders. And that rock is the perfect height to get to all that hard to reach places. You can see a bit of flies and insects flying around there. And especially after a good wallow, as this warthog did, it would help this. This is really great. We're getting a full view of how a rock can be used here. This is to get to all those hard to reach places. In the belly, the chest, chin. You can see there's quite a thick smear of mud still on the back. Just look at that shiny rock there. Now, when they do that, it's not just to get rid of the excess mud, although it does that, but it also kind of forces the mud into the folds and covering the skin, and it also aids them in removing of excess skin parasites or dried skin they might have had. And I can see some swallows flying over the water quite low. There's another warthog coming in. And let's see what's going to be the objective here. I think we'll also go down, maybe for a wallow and cool down. Let's have a look. Indeed. Really making sure to cover everything there with the mud. So there's a brief stop for a little drink of water. And here comes another one. Now it's interesting. You can see the color of the soil there, and then you can compare that, especially that one on approach. It's already dried out, maybe from a wallow earlier. You can see the reddish hue on its coat and its skin. Animal lover, you said you're very excited for today's show. I'm very happy to hear that. With an exciting start like this, some good muddy fun, I'm sure it'll be an exciting show. Isaac, you saying that the humans pay a lot of money for a mud bath while the water of this fun for free. Indeed, they do have fun. And you can see what I get from this is pure enjoyment. Just look at that. Trying to cover every inch. It doesn't even look like that one on the right can see. But it serves a very necessary function, very, very important to their general health, not just for the treatment of the skin, but also on a hot day like this, it provides protection from the sun. It helps them maintain a cool body temperature. In a big way, it's an essential part to helping them live within a harsh environment like this. George, you're asking if the mud helps them cool off? Indeed, it does. And we can often see that when it's very, very hot, they come, it serves multiple purposes, including skin hygiene, maintenance, um, and the health benefits associated with that, but it certainly also helps them to cool down. That's why they make sure to cover the belly, make sure to cover the back, the parts that's exposed to the sun and the parts that warm up, where there's a lot of blood flow. Sometimes after wallowing and having a good scratch, what we find is they might move into the shade, and the cool breeze blowing over that wet, muddy skin will also aid in cooling down. But that was indeed a great start to this afternoon. We have a blacksmith lapwing. Drifting there on the water. Not sure if it's from this bird. Might be a dove. Came down to drink earlier on. This bird is doing a bit of cleaning on the feet there. Actually, yesterday I had the privilege of watching one of these lapwings washing himself, sitting in the water, bobbing up and down with its head. He looked like a type of seagull almost. It's quite fun to watch. Often birds associated with water and a very good natural sound to listen out for. Whenever finds yourself in a bit of a pickle looking for water, might be indicative of the presence of water nearby. But while this bird is doing some very much needed feather maintenance, we're going to head over to Tembe where we've got some elephant action. in the shade. What a welcome sight. Look, it looks busy here, Cindy. It looks like there's been a lot of elephant action. I can see the dust bowls are turning. Also an indication of the rising temperatures this time of the year. Elephants making sure that they cover themselves up from the sun's warm rays. I always Tembe is definitely one of my favorite places, and you can see some more elephants there in the background. But I'm always surprised at how they just blend and hide in this landscape. We often don't really even notice how many is around. It looks good. It looks like these females, small groups resting out in the shade. The trunks are resting on the ground, very relaxed, slow motions with the tail, and swaying in their shade there. These elephants look very, very relaxed to me. It's just a well-earned rest. Now, 2 weeks ago, we mainly saw bulls or young male elephants and some older ones on this watering hole. So it's very, very good to see a few larger females and their offspring in and around this area. And of course, the impala. And just look at that. There's a baby impala. There is a mummy or soon to be mummy impala with an oxpecker. And look at that baby. I haven't even seen one this season yet. I'm really hoping that I get to see them soon. They're certainly one of my favorites. Sarah, I agree. That's a cute lamb. Hey, imagine being only a few days old. Oh, there's an oxpecker. An oxpecker, you can see that oxpecker nose is the new baby. Really interesting period for both bird and baby impala. And for the baby impala, it's the start of a long-term beneficial relationship with this bird. I'm quite surprised at the rather gentle approach this bird's taken. I've noticed at some points they can be quite overwhelming to certain animals, especially the young baby animals. Joe, you asking if elephants sleep standing up or laying down? The short answer would be both, actually. I've seen them do both. I've seen big elephants laying flat down on their sleeping, a big bull elephant. And young ones, they often spend at least a little bit of time on the side in the early morning hours or after moving a long time. So they might take a quick nap. And then we have the larger elephants generally standing up. Oh, look at that. Yo, those ears almost look like they're heavy at this stage. They're so big in relation to the rest of that little animal. But look at the curiosity there towards the bird. That's very, very special to see. And there's a seasoned traveler with a very well cemented relationship. Quite interesting. I am wondering, like, does it by default mean the offspringers on a certain impala get to claim whatever newborns on here? But that, you know, the belly still looks quite round. So I'm sure there is this little one. So lots of learning in the next few weeks for that little one. That's very special to see. I'm very happy to see that. Animal lover, you're asking when the horns will start growing in for the lambs? Well, it depends. It usually starts to show quite early on with the little male impalas. Um, young is about 2 months. You start to see it coming in. Nothing. It's just the small little spikes that you hardly even, not two little knobs at the top of the head, you hardly even notice until they a little bit older. There's always a bit of confusion at this age, not always too sure where to go. I haven't seen any other young ones around here. Normally, the progression of events is on its own, spending a bit of time with mum, and then eventually starting to form these little groups or creches as they're known. And then from there, that's when the real learning begins. Learning all around. I can see that one impala looks very heavily pregnant. The one on the right out of those two. And also one to keep an eye out for. Will probably have her lamb not too long from now. Just look at these elephants, still relaxing. You can see the ears going quite vigorously, and the larger ones especially. Looks like they're all female, except I don't know with the young one. See, they're constantly removing excess dust and dirt from the ears, the inside of the ears. While these elephants are just standing in the shade here, taking a much needed rest, we're gonna head over to Lentora for a bird party. Oh wow, I did not expect that. It looks like a number of fire finches. I don't know exactly what all of these are, but I can definitely see some red bills and red bill fire finches. That's very, very beautiful. Yes. She's constantly vying for a position. What is that? Looks like a cutthroat finch coming in for a drink as well. Bit of a bathe. Well, that was a very nice check-in, but looks like we lost inventory. So we are at Tau, where it's definitely gotten a lot greener since the last time I've set eyes on this watering hole. What a beautiful contrast to the black and white of these zebras, the grey foreground against that green line that I'm sure is very, very well received by some of these animals. And it even extends up on the hill. Just look at that. You can see it's even some green grass in some areas popping up. I'm sure big, big way is also why the zebra is spending quite a bit of time here now. Still see the evidence of heavy elephant traffic coming into the area. You can see that rubbing post is not as covered in mud as it used to be, so I'm assuming also that there's water throughout the region. This is very, very beautiful to see. And I can imagine that now with this little grass, all the animals like the wildebeest, zebra, even the impala, will be coming down to this section, this region. So we'll be seeing quite a bit. Spaz, you're saying nice to see some zebras here at Tau for this afternoon. Indeed it is. Hey, zebras certainly one of my favorite. Um, very, very interesting animal. Very beautiful animal to me. A very iconic animal of Africa. Found almost throughout. So popular, they're even national animal of Botswana. Now having a well-deserved drink there. And I've always been curious, like the animals do go down to that little dip there at the back where the zebras are drinking from now. And I do find it looks like that's quite a popular spot. So it must be a deep, muddy pool there. I can see from the constant swishing of the tails that it's definitely hot and Busy day for the insects as well. Just a quick drink and then back up out of the dip to have a good look and make sure that there's nothing approaching, no danger. Mara, you're asking if zebras are easier for lions to hunt than other antelope. Um, I don't know. I wouldn't necessarily say that. I think they might both be tricky in different ways. Like for a predator as large as a lion, to be able to take down a zebra exerts a lot of energy. And a zebra is a very well known adversary to a lot of things. It's very, very strong. It's very agile. Even though they might not be the fastest animal on the planet, definitely got whatever it's lacking in speed, it makes up for with attitude. And you use those hooves to deliver a devastating kick, and they often do. Um, in some regards, even regards, they slow down a little bit, especially with the male moving to the back of the group when they get chased by predators, and they might do that, slow down and deliver a devastating kick to the predator with their strong hind legs and their hard hooves. But they also bite. I've seen some videos in the past of zebras crossing the Mara River, and whenever the crocodiles attack them, they don't shy away from trying to bite back. They are known to bite. They use their teeth in fighting each other, especially the males. They're very, very feisty animal, even the females. They're not always very accepting of others in their personal space. So thus far, this group looks quite comfortable with each other. It might just be a group of young males. I'm not too sure. Well, before the zebra turns around and joins up with his other troop members, we're going to head over to Tembe, where there's a large herd of elephant that's just come down. Oh wow, what a sight! See a big bull elephant just making his rounds, moving through, checking out the females there under the famous shade tree of Tembe. Now I can see some other elephants moving off. I'm assuming these guys have had their drink and maybe the company wasn't as desirable. Animal lover, I see you asked a question earlier with regards to the zebra. You asked if some of those zebra were pregnant. In hindsight, now I'm not sure. I don't think so. It didn't look that like that to me. I think might have also been a group of males, but I'm not 100% sure. Um, I didn't have a careful enough look there. Oh, look at this. It's like a very old female elephant, this. A well traveled elephant. And that ear is quite conspicuous, quite quite easily identifiable characteristic. I'm always curious when I see that, like as to how that would have happened, what would have happened. This definitely looks like a mature, well-traveled female elephant. This forest green. You're asking if elephants die from old age or if they do get sick. That's a good question. They can definitely die. They do you die of old age. I mean, elephants do suffer from a whole other range of diseases and um, biological problems at points that could be because of various reasons. But yes, they often do die of old age. And for an elephant in the wild, old age would generally be near or just after 50. They can get slightly older than that. And some of them in the wild, I think one has even been recorded as old as over 65. In captivity, they do tend to live a little bit longer because they're going to very specific diet. They don't necessarily have all the stresses that the environment puts on them out here in the wild. And that also gets intensified by raising young calves out in the wilderness. That must be one mammoth task. But yes, they do indeed die from old age, and often an old elephant dies because their teeth gets ground down and worked through. And because of that, they do not actually always live as long as they should. They go through a number of sets of teeth in their life. Molars, they have these molars or sets of molars in the back of their jaws that kind of move forward as they age, and eventually the old set gets replaced by a new set moving in, and they get ground down. If you think about all the rough material that they eat, from bark to the sand, it gets ground down between the teeth from eating grass. That's why we sometimes see them shake grass and very sandy stuff they've pulled out of the soil. But an interesting thing about elephants getting sick, and they do get sick, is that they, as far as we know, they don't suffer from cancer. A phenomenon that's getting studied more increasingly, especially in wild elephants. That elephant at the back there reacted, and I'm not sure if he reacted to this elephant I can see on the left or whether it was the what looks like white-faced ducks. I think it might have been the ducks that gave it a bit of a fright. Even though the elephant is the largest mammal out there, they can definitely get so wrapped up in what they're doing and focused on what they're eating, like that one feeding on that little shrub that's trying to get out of the ground desperately, that they tend to not check around and focus on their surroundings much. So sometimes something popping up randomly with a fright. So much so that that elephant decided to walk all the way to the other side. Well, that was a spectacular sight, seeing all those elephants here. And what we'll do is we'll head over to an area I haven't seen in a while, Victoria Falls Lodge. Look at that. Also, a bit of change in scenery here. Much greener than the last time I saw it. You can see the Mupanis got their new foliage for a lot of them. I'm not sure what the warthog is going after there, but maybe it might be a fresh new grass popping up. And I can see what seems to look like a marabou stalk. Yeah, look at one warthog chasing the other one away. I'm wondering if it's a bit of sibling rivalry or if these are just two young guys that met up here out of a similar interest. Isaac, you're asking if a male warthog has multiple partners or if it partners with one female during its life. It does offer multiple partners. And usually it can be seasonal. Um, they find that the males often come in and move towards the groups with females at a certain time of the year, depending on the region, and then they'll try and mate with some of those females. Females and their offspring generally band together in certain areas due to safety and also the dietary requirements that is obviously the same. In productive areas often have good numbers of warthog, so males do tend to have more than one female partner and try to have babies with as many as possible females in the area. We're going to head back to Tembe for some impala. It doesn't look like there's too much happening here, Juma, currently. There's some Nyala and the impala enjoying the shade. Looks like she's standing and chewing the cud there. I'm sure she's had a bit of a fill, still heavily pregnant. Now, Forest Green asked earlier if elephants can get sick um, or if they die from old age. Now, we do see an interesting thing from that is often we find that when the elephants are older and they struggle to feed properly, one of the last things that they can get is they can still drink water. We often find that older elephants might not move too far from certain water sources if it's available readily. and they often even pass away. So, yeah, elephants do often die near water sources, and hence there's a thought or a concept that's known as an elephant graveyard. There's also the fact that after heavy rains, often bones in certain areas, depending on the slope and the lay of the land, do gather with runoff in certain regions, usually the lower laying regions. But at Tembe, we always see all of these elephants around here. Where the forest opens up, these little depressions have quite stable water sources as the soils hold water very well. And that's why some days, if the elephants are moving, we might not see. And Penelope Kenyon noted that yesterday we didn't see that many at Tembe. So we got to see quite a few today. And then a very good question from Penelope Kenyon. Oh, sorry, no, from Katie. Is at what age will elephants stop mating or getting pregnant? Now, I know that some of the older female elephants can have babies as old as 40, but generally after that, not that I know of. I know they also, at that age, it will be very, very stressful to raise a young one. Very difficult. It will take the toll on the mother elephant for sure. Freddie, you're asking if female impala will give birth on their own or if they'll have the safety of the herd around. Generally speaking, they remove themselves from the herd and they try and give birth during the night time or in a secluded spot. And then they might keep that little one away from the herd or nearby for a couple of days, but well hidden until it's a little bit more agile and movable, and then they'll introduce it to the herd and bring it along. But yes, they usually separate themselves on their own away from the herd. You can see all that churned up mud on the water's edge, lots of animals coming down. Both of these females look very pregnant. As hot as it might be there at Timby today, I think they do spend a lot of time just resting during the middle of the day at this point. Let's leave these impala as they stand in their shade, getting groomed there by the oxpeckers, and head over to Rosie's pan. Where we've got a very relaxed hippopotamus. There's no movement whatsoever, and it's very likely that this hippo is asleep. Oh, there we go. Maybe it heard me. You can see just a slight twist there towards the sound of those doves taking off. I'm sure the flicks were because of some biting insects, flies. maybe go sit or buzzed around near the extremely sensitive skin. Kiki asking how long hippos live for. That's a really good question. I'm not sure. I would think probably around 30 to 40 if I had to take a guess. Didn't we find that with these large um, pachyderms, the hippo, the rhinoceros, they tend to go to about 40 in the wild. Um, but elephants get older than that. So I would guess it's around there, to be honest. 30 to 40 for a hippo, maybe. I think it could probably go on a little bit longer, but in captivity. I mean, if they've got the ideal life with no harsh conditions, then I don't see why they couldn't live longer than that, maybe even up to 50 or more. If life's as good as it looks like it is for this hippo, then can't see why not. Nice close up of that hippo's head. You can see that very bulky neck and then narrowing into towards the top of the head where the ears are attached, eyes closed, with nostrils above the water. No other hippos around. But the entirety of Rosie's stand to himself. I'm calling it a him, but it could be a she, although when it's drier, usually after dry periods when the rain starts to come in and pans start to fill up, we find those moving quite a bit in this time of the year. Younger, less dominant males tend to move as they get pushed off, in which case they could end up on their own in a can of water or a pot of water temporarily. And that's probably what happened to this guy. Maybe he wandered in. He does look quite bulky. I can see a lot of scars on the body and the back. Could have been on his way to a more major water source. He decided to stand out here for a couple of days before moving on again. Oh, here we go. We can see a healing wound. Still got a little bit of pink, indicating that indeed there was a break of the skin there. Often quite a diagnostic feature of hippos. It's been in a fight as the losing bull runs away. Trying to get the winner who can try and get him by the back of the animal running away. And very sharp tusks constantly sharpened and skin onto each other. Skin. That would be my guess. I mean, it could also be a potential attack from the predator. I know in lion attack before they often go from the back as well. Stay away from the front end because that can happen when these animals do move between water sources or they find themselves in a bit of a pickle away from a water source during the middle of the day or at night time. Look at all the tails, this the skin can tell us. Lots of scars. I can see the nostrils moving up and down, so thankfully it's still breathing. The eyes are closed shut, and this because feel like you're taking those. What a comfortable spot. At some point, I'm sure the sun will become too hot and it's goes back and we'll probably turn around and maybe cover it back with a bit of water. But it's cleaned up quite a lot to get really compressed. And I've noticed being in the general area for the last couple of days, things have suddenly become a lot greener. And with that, more water. With that comes the Egyptian goose. I'm seeing a lot of them fly over. We're heading to all kinds of newly formed little puddles of water, staking out their claim. These birds fiercely protect their sites, especially the male. It's quite unusual. I don't see them drinking too much. It's very hot, and I'm assuming they were just standing there in the shade to cool down. So that is spectacular. Lots of nice green flush. Still need a little bit more rain. We can do with more grass. It's always good to scan around these walking mountains. These might be around waiting in the shade for a cooler period. You can see a little bit of a breeze going. Now, this region is a little bit overcast today, which is good. It means animals get a little bit of a relief from the heat. It's a constant move through the region. Diane from the UK saying that the hippo's back looks quite dry and exposed. And asking if his back will get hurt. No, look, with it being that dry, potentially yes, because I have a very thick, but very sensitive skin. The dermal layer is, well, the epidermal layer is quite thin. And sometimes they do suffer a bit spending a long time in the sun. So they have a specialized oil that they secrete from the pores in their skin, and that aids as a bit of a block to the sun and also as a moisturizer. In this case, this guy's skin looks very, very dry. He doesn't seem too bothered though. Just look at him, not a care in the world. He hasn't been bothered by any of the birds really. You can just see their breath in as the nostrils flare. Hardly even moving his ears. Must have traveled quite a bit to get to this spot. The general area around Wilfon's West is also quite a dry region, so any water would have been highly contested by residents of course, that's for sure. Sometimes as rivers get dry and drier, form these pools because they do get tolerated by others. They don't always make for the easiest neighbors, usually the males. Males become quite jealous, as I'm sure this guy would be if another male had to come into his little pan here. But it's almost no movement. That's incredible. You can see if I'm assuming it's shallow enough for him to rest his head up on something there. So it's a perfect spot. Legs probably tucked in underneath. I'm surprised that there's no terrapin or something basking on top of him. I've never seen some flies moving about. Every now and again there's a bit of a twitch to get rid of them. You can clearly see the effectiveness of this evolutionary design for this very, very unique animal. Nostrils right at the top, eyes at the top, small ears. Nostrils and the ears both have a very interesting contraction of the muscles. You kind of seal them off as the animal goes under the water. And that way keep them watertight. Danny, You're asking if the hippo would die in here if it would float. That is quite an interesting question. From what I know, they do float, and it takes rather quickly for these animals to float and get up, come up, which could be anything from half an hour to an hour after it's died. But it also depends on the shallowness and the depth of the water. And I know from what I've read in old travel books, people traveling through Africa back in the day, the hippo was a very sought after animal to get hunted. And they used the skin, they used the fat, it had lots of uses. And of course the meat, but they made horse whips often from the skin on the back especially. And from what a lot of people say, generally the hippo would start floating, they would wait, hunt the hippo from the shore while it's in the water, and then they would wait a little while until it pops up. The water is not very deep, and I'm pretty sure the hippo would probably take a little while before it floats. And I've seen that too. I've seen that too. And I've often watched in very shallow water, like very shallow rivers. Sometimes you see crocodiles come in feeding on dead hippos, and then they with their legs up and they're floating a little bit, which is a sight to behold, to say the least. But in this case, I really don't think the hippo here is dead or about to die. I think he is literally having one of the most relaxed times ever. I think the biggest immediate issues that this hippo might face is, besides the sun maybe, in which case he can just turn a little bit and cover his body and back with water, but is a potential of an elephant herd or a few elephant bulls coming to drink. I've seen elephant bulls walk well into this pan, and that would certainly upset this guy quite a bit. But while this hippo enjoys this pan all by himself, we're going to head over to Stony Point and see what we've got there. And we've got a gull, which yesterday, the brief view that I had, I thought it might be a heart-loud gull. And he's back at the water's edge, waiting on the tide to bring in something. What a resourceful bird, indeed. Here we go. What a beautiful bird. Just walking out of stream there, they are very smart, these birds, and they can become rather, yeah, So often to travelers in areas that's not used to these gulls, they pick up on a lot of food scraps quite easily. So they can become pests around certain areas, especially harbors. And they've got a very aggressive approach. I remember as a little boy going down to the harbor to go get an ice cream, going to go fish there. I was always very wary of the gulls. What a beautiful scene we have here. It looks like a beautiful scene with kelp there in the background. Have a look, towering along the edges of the rocks there. What a good spot. You can see that's a regular roost. All the bird droppings on the rocks certainly indicates the well-used spots and all that dried out bamboo. What an amazing area this is indeed. And there's a lot of life amongst these rocks here. Not just the birds, but also other little creatures. Look at the beautiful colors of the ocean there. Very mild wave action here. So, good spot for these birds to come and sit and take their breaks in between. There's lots of kelp there and in the open seabed, so lots of places for things to hide. Dark main lover. I am very happy that you are glad for me to be hosting live at the watering hole this afternoon, and good to hear from you indeed. Very good to hear from you. And yes, this is a beautiful place. Rosie Adams. It's a beautiful place, beautiful birds. Look at those very, very well known mountainous backgrounds. Here at Betty's Bay. What a wild place. Low hanging cloud. It's a piece of heaven, if you ask me. Rosie Adams, you saying you hearing gulls flying over your roof? That's pretty amazing. I wouldn't mind hearing gulls now. That is one sound that I do miss, the sound of gulls, seagulls, which I associate with the ocean, of course. But one of the things I think if you live in the bush. However, very, very nice to get to catch up with Stony Point. I think we are going to leave Stony Point for now and head over to Tau again. So I think what we'll do, looks like these birds are just having a rest here, so we're going to head back over to the bushveld to Tower Lodge and see what's happening. Oh, we've got a big elephant bull doing a balancing act in the soft mud. You can see there's definitely a lot more water here, Tau, from what I saw last, and a lot of new green grass. Gets to the point where this guy can come and even have a bit of a selection here. Very slow steps he's giving, very stretched out widely, making sure that he's keeping his balance. That's what happens here. Oops. Yeah, this is quite great to watch. This is something that I find amazing about elephants. They are extremely careful moving over certain environments. Obviously, very at ease with their bulk, but not letting it stop them. It looks like we've lost Tao, so we're back at Tembi. From one elephant to another elephant. This one seems like it's got a bit more of a selection here. Now, I was talking earlier about elephants and their teeth and how important it is to keep it for as long as possible. But you see here this elephant pulling that long grass out of the sand and rough soil. It gives it a bit of a shake. And there's a heron there in the background, which I'm not too sure exactly what it is. I can't get a good view on it with this elephant. But if he moves his head and have a good look, it could just be a grey heron. But for a moment, I thought something else. Now, I've not noticed the elephants eating that rough grass on the water's edge before, so I'm curious as to why this one would do it now. It might be maybe for a bit of a rougher component to the diet. It certainly looks like he might do it for a little while. He's quite relaxed. And where that trunk is now, I saw a jacana and I can see it now between the elephant's legs, just escaping there back into the water at the back. It's always interesting to see when the elephants move around like this in the taller grass, all the interesting little creatures that they get to flush. And also insects, which attracts a lot of birds. You often find that they have a following of birds, little groups that hope to capitalize on that. Maybe the jacana was doing the same. Okay. Got a better view on the heron now, and by the looks of it, it does look like a grey heron. It looks like it caught something there in the background, or came close, rather. And this elephant has got a floppy ear as well. And I think this elephant I've seen around here, if I remember correctly. He is quite relaxed. Doesn't seem to have any bother at all. I always find it amazing how they use that trunk like a hand almost, wrapping it around. So it's got a firm grip, and then pulling out the tuft of grass, often only eating the flowering parts of it. So that depends on the species. Mm, looks like he's done for now. And then we've got the impala again. Now, what's interesting here is that baby impala laying flat down right near the water's edge. And there's a young nyala coming to investigate. Let's see what's happening here. Mm. It looked like there was a foam nest, frog's nest, above the standing impalas on the right in the tree. It seems like it might be a little bit off from the water's edge. What do we have here? You can see this tree is certainly looking a lot better than it did the last time I saw it. There's always some commotion going on in it. It looks like it's got a new flush of green leaves. It's a perfect nesting spot for a whole bunch of birds, including weavers. What a beautiful tree indeed. You can see some nests there. It looks like even the branch that at one point I thought was broken and died looks like it's got a bit of color. Now we can see that it looks like that white there. Am I seeing this correctly? Maybe not. Maybe it's something else. The other thing I think possibly is a spider's nest. With the wind and the heat, it's difficult for me to get a good look to make sure whether it's foam or silk that I'm looking at. Either one would make sense. The only thing with a frog's nest is it's usually a little bit lower down, so possibly silk, I'd say. In which case, that size and color, not sure, maybe one of the larger spiders within the rain spider family. Some impalas just chewing the cud while getting a groom by that oxpecker. I always find, oh, in the back I can see showing the young impalas having his days with the oxpeckers. They're coming to grips. Interesting to see how this jacana is just moving about, looking for little creatures to pounce on. in the exposed dirt where all the other animals have stepped. There's another one. Quite a relaxed afternoon here. It was very busy earlier with all the elephant. The rest of the creature seems to, besides maybe this young impala, the rest of them seems to be quite comfortable with what they're doing. I know this particular region has also got a very, very high tick load in the area. So animals, especially young animals like that, young impala, I imagine that must take some getting used to, as well as the flies. And being near the water's edge, the flies and biting insects, which is a little bit more poor. There's a bit of a mutual frack given to each other there. It's quite a lovely little interaction. I can see that Nyala looks like it wants to come down to have a drink, but it's doing so in a very awkward manner. And it looks like it decided against it. We'll leave this little corner to the impala for now. France, you asking me if I've experienced a live impala bird? I haven't. I haven't. I would love to actually. Um, I don't know why that would be. I think maybe it is because they tend to favor periods when it's darker, and also because of the secrecy surrounding the births. You can imagine the female being quite vulnerable at that stage and the little one, so they away from the herds. They usually try and find cover. So no, I haven't, unfortunately. I'm hoping to one day, but I have seen quite a few other um, creatures give birth. I've been lucky in that regard. You can see there's lots of haridas moving in. There is, what is that? A yellow-billed stork. For a moment there, I wasn't sure. It looked like it had an all pink bill. Actively looking for something at the reed's base there. And that bill being very sensitive to the minutest movements in the water. You can see it's walking with it slightly open, ready to strike whenever something comes past or near. Lady Macbeth, you're saying that Impala you was a sorry, that Nyala you was a little bit confused. It looked to me the same. It wanted to drink from the water's edge, couldn't get it to the top, and then for a moment probably considered its space in the world. Almost for a moment there, I thought it was almost going to next to that Impala and feed. Interesting to see that it didn't. Interesting to note the very different feeding strategies here. We compare this Egyptian goose in front eating the plant material versus look, the yellow-billed stork. It looks like it got a very small fish there. Now the white-faced duck's moving away. But while these guys continue in this part or corner of the watering hole here at Tembi, we're going to head back to Tile to see if we can catch up there. We've got some two elephant bulls. What a beautiful scene indeed. You see the sunlight just lighting up that hill beyond the green line. That's very, very beautiful. Also getting quite a bit warmer, I'm sure, and that's why there's a difference. Just making sure to apply some mud to all the necessary spots. Stasi Yankov, you are saying that it was a wonderful interaction between that baby impala and Yala. Indeed, it was. I think it's something that we don't always note, but that was a very, very lovely interaction. And I always find it fascinating to see other creatures react to baby animals. And they know the baby animal is still getting to terms with a lot of things, and they're so accommodating and tolerant, which is the right word. So it's very beautiful to watch and very interesting to watch as well. Now, see that elephant there at the back looks like it's got quite a pair of tusks. Quite an impressive bull. I would have loved to have a look at that guy from the front. I haven't seen many elephants with big tusks in this region, at least from what I've seen live at the watering hole. And I've normally noticed more along the lines of the elephant on the right. Dust coming off elephants. I think as they walk, they pick up a bit of dust like that. Just like sway their trunk over the earth's surface, picking up on any scent. There would have been a lot of other animals that would have come down to the water's edge today. And then also just doing a dust wave, just moving along. What an spectacular elephant indeed. Both of them, of course. In front. Certainly got some impressive tusks. And I'm sure this one at the back just going to follow him out. In that similar direction. Always enjoy watching them moving off in the slow motion like steps. the same time, they very quickly become quite small as they move off. An indication of how quickly they actually move with those large steps they give. And then once they reach that bush, it's amazing to just disappear. At least now with the green in the background, we can sort of make them out. When they came down to the water, and we really started noticing them as they approached the edge of the thicker area beyond the plain near the water. It looks like there's something there at the back. Maybe it's some grass growing near the edge. Something other. Looks like the elephant plucking out something from amongst the rocks. So another very, very interesting thing to watch for me is when they move off like that, and they move through a seemingly barren landscape, and then they just randomly stop, pick out something small, or dig out something. Using that incredible sense of smell they've got. Comes in very handy for that. Oh, it's quite an interesting creature. I realized that. Oh wow, more elephants. Some very beautiful elephants here at Tau this afternoon, that's for sure. Look at all these little pathways and islands they've created. The elephant is all the way in the mud to his belly, and he's also got a very decent set of tusks. But as these elephants are enjoying the green grass brought by the recent rains, we're going to head over to Hyena Pan, where we've got a very casual pose from this drinking elephant. Hyena Pan, Botswana, I don't actually recall. Oh, yes, I do recall having seen this pan before, situated in and amongst Emopani forest. What a beautiful sight. It's definitely a lot more green than I remember. Unbelievable. Just a single elephant dome, applying some mud into a very hot day as well. But yeah, more water from what I remember. Now let's see, so we're going to throw the other side as well. Oh, top, side, top, side. I'm thinking that's what he's going for. There we go. The next one should be to the top. Oh, side, other side. And you can see it takes a while before he brings the trunk with the mud up. So he's definitely kind of digging there for a lump of mud. Just look at this extremely tall Mufanis there in the background. That's quite an interesting aspect to note. Mufani tree is a tree found in all different forms, size, and shape. And often the very tall ones only grow on the deeper soils. I'm no expert on the soils and geology of the area surrounding Japan. I would think that maybe we're seeing those taller trees, the soils would be a little bit deeper there. But what a beautiful area. You see lots of mud rubbings up against the stems of these trees, so lots of large bodies after moving away from the water, having a good scratch. And we have there a starling. That would be Neve's starling, if I'm not mistaken. You can see all that elephant dung there. And then, of course, the stunted trees closer to the water's edge. But I'm really enjoying the stark contrast here. This what looks like still quite a dry landscape, and the green, bright green flush of the farming. See, it looks like a black-winged stork there in the background. And then, of course, a little bit of blue reflecting in the water from the sky. Oh, not sure what happened there, but we are back at Rosie's Pan, where we have a relaxed hippo that's still very much exactly the same spot. Doesn't look like anything else has come down since. Probably part of the reason why it hasn't moved much at all. He's shifted his position slightly, it seems like. Looks like he's tilted his head over a little bit further to the left. Good to know that it's still alive. And I can just see one I mean fly, walking over the eye. Oh, bit of a change. A group of fox pickers should be interesting. I was wondering earlier why they aren't in. Now, they got that very uniquely designed foot shape. They've got very sharp little claws, so this might trigger a reaction from the hippo. Immediately they get going. To the areas around the ears. Wants to grab something inside, but the hippo is not letting the bird. In our attempt to perseverance. Or maybe not. The bird's tail tip is hanging in the water. And I know oxpeckers often come down to the water's edge. There they go. I wonder where they would have come from. Maybe they drink of water and then actually roosting in one of the trees nearby. So it looks like not even disturb this hippo much. Really very, very nice to see. Very fun. With a bit of green here. What a beautiful tree. Looks like a redwood from here. I'm sitting. Yes, indeed. Redwood. What a beautiful tree. I saw something move in there. I'm not sure what exactly it was, but characteristic landscape of this particular area. It's always good to have a very careful look inside the branches of these trees. But what a nice tree. That tree could provide so many different nesting sites for birds and other creature reptiles. And of course, also shade. Doesn't have the densest canopies. It still does provide a little bit of shade at least. And I do like the way the redwood branches kind of twist and folds in and around each other. Very, very slow growing tree can get very, very old. Often associated with areas surrounding water. Very, very dense wood. Hence the name leadwood. Denser than water, so it's, and this is a magnificent specimen indeed. Just towering above everything else. Would be a nice tree to see a leopard in. Well, this is quite a peaceful scene here at Rosie's Pan, and we're gonna leave it peacefully and head back over to Tembe to see what's happening there. Oh, and we got a male nyala with an oxpecker. the Chicana and the hardy duck. And it looks like our impala has moved off from this particular spot. There's a young male in the yard moving away from the water. Good to see these guys come out to the water's edge to drink. Have a look. That oxpecker is certainly going at it. The thicker fur that runs along the spine, they often, it's on these animals that attract a lot of the skin parasites gather there. Oh, there we go. That's pretty amazing. The baby impala's having a drink. Well, it had a drink. Not something that lasts very long. Often the mother just kind of like lets her drink a little while, and then as soon as she's lost interest and wants to feed again, she'll move on. So it must be very hot here today. I can see if all of these antelope are standing in the shade like this, it must be extremely hot. You can see that Nyala doesn't even look like it could spend any time in the sun. Kind of just walk through that patch straight towards the shade. Sure. The sun must be very harsh to that little one. It's also moving over to the shade, and its mother following. So I was wondering earlier on, and looked like one of the impala females that was near it when it was following looked heavily pregnant. So now I've got to look at its mother. I'm pretty sure it wasn't its mother. It was probably just another one within the herd. And I've often watched herds of impalas with the babies where they become a little bit confused and they all kind of stand around, not sure who is who. And what you'll find is the mothers looking for their little one, moving through the herd, sniffing along, try and find their own little one. And just look at that. What an interesting pose. That's quite clever, utilizing this break in the cloud to open the wings a bit, get some sun in on those areas. It's not always capable of getting to bask. One of my favorite things about Tendi is the color scheme. I really do like the color scheme. The blue sky reflected in the water, and then it's got these grey greens and bright blues, and the orange brown soils. Characteristic of this area, but very, very beautiful. You see all these game trails coming in out of the thick bush towards the water. It's all well utilized. I think this rock has been popular lately. Oh, we've come to Maritani. Yeah, we've got some baby baboons. Looks like they're rummaging through some old elephant gun. Hoping that we might see a little bit of action here for the last few minutes this afternoon. Doesn't look too hot, this place. Looks like these baboons are quite comfortable, always near a tree. Have big male baboon coming in. Wondering what this baboon is digging for there. Baboons have got such a varied diet. In an area like this, there's always something good to dig for. You don't get anything go to waste. I want to note that while it's moving like that, digging for whatever it's looking for there, see it's still very alert. It doesn't miss anything. Always give a glance up. Two of them drinking at the same time. Don't look particularly nervous near the water's edge. So I'm assuming no crocodiles. And success. So that's the green. We could have there. Sure looks like a root or something. A well-earned meal after hard work. And had a good little stretch.